Namaste, everyone. Nice to be here with you. You might notice we're in a little different setting. Today, I thought we would do something a little different. Still yoga, just in the sense that today, instead of doing postures to focus our mind, we're going to work on setting up sacred space. You could also call it setting up an altar. An altar or sacred space is just a place that you can come to be able to kind of like your yoga mat, drop whatever's going on in your life, take 5, 10, 20 minutes to just sit with what you've created and what you're reflecting on. So this is a very personal practice. It's what you place on your altar, what is sacred to you. It'll differ from person to person, but I just would like to give you a kind of a breakdown or a foundation for ways to begin that process. So, first of all, having a little space in your home, where you have a table and maybe preferably out of the way, in a corner. This is a table that was my grandmother's, that my grandfather brought back from Turkey after World War II. So it's very special to me in many ways. And if you can see, it has a certain pattern, which is nice because a lot of times whenever we set up an altar, placement of objects come into a pattern. One thing about creating sacred space is that it is intentional. It has a purpose, a meaning. And so, to start off, ask yourself, what is it that your altar is for? Today, just generally, I would say, start with just a place that you can come to reflect on beauty, reflect on the people that you love. Slowing down, and you could take it through the spectrum, whether you place deities or saints or angels or pictures of your grandparents or your mother and your father. Whatever you place on your altar, you're honoring. You're honoring their reflection within your life. Okay, so moving right along. You might consider using a nice colored scarf for your table. Can add a little depth of texture. I'm lucky enough to have a friend who's very talented at some artwork. This is Metatron's cube. If you're interested, it's a pattern of sacred geometry that was actually already on the table. But it signifies a store of knowledge, of healing. Okay. So what I would suggest to you is that you go around your house. If you haven't already set up an altar, many of you probably have one. Whether you know it or not. So going around your house, maybe find some things that speak to you. I've got these are called fetishes. They're stone carvings of animals. So starting off, guardians of your altar, so to speak. Maybe a good symbolic representation of what this is about. It's a little guy meditating. Candles are a nice thing to have on an altar. You can light a candle and meditate on the flame. Different candles can represent different things. Ancestors in the past can be one. Healing for the people in our current lives or ourselves can be another. And so also keeping a lighter handy. So I say that this practice is like yoga. I mean, it is yoga. Whenever you're sitting down doing something, concentrating, slowing down enough to just be present, well, then you're in a state of yoga. Let's see, what else? Another good thing to do, if you have either sage or Palo Santo, that's holy wood, it's good to give the altar a cleansing before you start. So even washing the table down, getting nice and clean, and the more intention that you put into it, the more that it'll speak to you. So just clearing the space underneath. Clear yourself while you're at it. If you have a shell, something to put ash in, it can be a good thing to have on hand. If you like working with crystals, you might consider setting up a grid. Crystal grid is sort of like a energetic outlining. Each crystal can be considered something like a transmitter or an amplifier. If your intention for your altar is healing, well then crystals can help with the amplification of that healing, spreading it out further. I like to add elements of nature. A good friend of mine grew this reishi mushroom. Always a nice friend to have on hand is the fungi kingdom. Adding some incense can be good. Let's see. Incense is a great way to bring focus to the senses. That's what it's for. You light a stick and you take in the aroma and it grounds you. It brings you presence, right? Another thing that can do that is the sound of a bell. So, say you're walking by, maybe you don't have a whole 20 minutes to meditate, but stop, greet your altar, call in spirit, call in presence. Doesn't take more than a moment. Let's see, back to elements of nature. Feathers that you find, things that maybe you find around your house, outside, stones. Crystals are nice, but stones have a lot of personality too. And another one for the senses, if you have any type of oil, perfume, that speaks to you. This is Knights of Lang Lang from another good friends of mine. Let's see. I think that's about it. So, elements of water, or water in general, actually. The water on this earth, it is so sacred, so important for life. Without it, there's no life. So, placing water on your altar is a good thing. It can be a little cup or a little jar, doesn't matter. And you'll want to refill it and change it regularly so it doesn't become stagnant. That's another thing with having a space like this. You want to continually put energy into it. You don't want to just let dust settle on it. Because stale energy isn't going to help you, What will help you is having the regular practice and diligence to come to your altar, to look around and to think to yourself, well, or maybe not think so much, but feel. How could this be improved? What would look good here? Is this space getting too crowded? Just these considerations to bring to this space that you hold sacred. And so once you have things the way that you like them, maybe you find a big pillow to sit on, and you find a tall spine, and you take the time to sit and to be with whatever it is you need to be with. And also use this time at your altar to let go of things that maybe you can't control, or thoughts that have been constantly playing over in your mind. Give yourself a break at this space. What you bring to it will be reflected back to you. Just like in yoga practice, asana, breathing. So for your journal, I would like you to make a space. Make a space somewhere in your home or your room. Doesn't have to be a big place. Could just be a picture with a candle. Could be very simple. And sit with it, meditate, concentrate on your breath for 20 minutes, and then journal about that experience, how that made you feel, or what came to you. I forgot about this. Another thing that can be nice to place on an altar is a little bit of wisdom, like something that you find wisdom from. That's the 4 Agreements by Miguel Ruiz, who's a wonderful teacher. Beautiful book. And so that way, whenever you come to it, maybe you open up to a page and just have a reflection. Real love is accepting other people the way they are without trying to change them. If we try to change them, this means we don't really like them. If you decide to live with someone, it is always better to make that agreement with someone who is exactly the way you want him or her to be. It is much easier to find someone whom you don't have to change than to try to change somebody. Good one. Okay. Well, I hope this practice serves you well. And know that I'm thinking about y'all. Before I sign off, let's take an Om together to draw in healing energy this time. Take a deep breath. Sit up tall. Namaste, everybody.